Beyond Acheron is the fourth full-length album from northern German death metal band Temple of Dread. Now, this band definitely it sort of reeks of like a little bit of Pestilence and Asphyx, and sort of they've named like Morgoth and Obituary as part of their basic influences, but they've always kept it a little bit interesting with heavy influence from classic thrash metal, and they've always been kind of a riff-driven band who definitely show their parts in terms of having a very good sound designer and engineer as part of the band, as well as a main component of Slaughter Day, a very impressive band in their own right. So their exploration of sort of ancient mythos and whatnot is just pretty interesting. I like the general narrative and the aesthetic of the band. It feels like a contemporary death metal group that is still very much rooted in old school death metal. And this album, it sort of feels like, well, we've got to do something with it. We've got to find a way to go with it. And their choices are pretty interesting. I don't quite understand what where they intended to go with the full album, but we'll get into a song here and sort of see maybe what's a little bit different about this record compared to the last one. So you might recall, I really like the most recent Body Farm record because it touches upon some melodic black death metal influences, throws in a little bit more like tremolo-based riff expression, and it's a little bit more melodic in general. This record kind of does a similar thing without going melodic death metal in terms of still sticking to a sort of a death thrash influenced sound, while a few songs in here heavily incorporate keyboards, and they break into what is maybe influenced by progressive death metal, or just even just power metal in some cases, and it makes for an interesting change for them. It's not exactly nocturnus, but it saps some of the energy in the midpoint of the record. So we get does feel like a true follow up to Hades Unleashed, if you're familiar with their third album, but they don't quite. It doesn't quite feel like they know where they're going with it beyond retaining some of the classic death metal influence and changing it up throughout with more melodic touches on the lead guitars, the keyboards and all that, and more dramatic sort of tuneful movements throughout. But I didn't really know what to make of it per the progression of their discography and where it seemed to be going, and now where it seems like this is an attempt to be a little bit more maybe not accessible, but just finding an interesting point of their own, and mostly getting there with this record. So I think this is one of those things where you're going to have to want to sit down with it. Maybe you've listened to the last three records and you want to see where they go with it. But if you're looking for just riff after riff, some of these songs definitely hit that, maybe less often than the last record, which was a little bit more thrash influenced in general in its general composition. So this is something different. I still thought it was interesting enough to recommend. It is a moderately high recommendation for me. You can read more about the album and my thoughts on the written review, and check out the album. It is out now.
Vortex of wasted